My name's Tom King, and I'm the founder of Toolkit.law. And we're here. What we thought would be fun is a collection of attorneys from another country. We're here with four attorneys from Pakistan who all deal with immigration law. And of course, if you're a Toolkit.law user, you know that Toolkit.law has an interesting connection to Pakistan. Our whole development team is in Islamabad, and I just got back from meeting with our team there with the lovely city of Islamabad and Rawalpindi and the mountainous region all around. So we're here getting other perspectives. We're here to talk about immigration case intake and organization. We've recorded other sessions with American attorneys regarding immigration, and now we're mixing it up. We're here with four different attorneys: Hashim Khan, Arooj Bukhari, Yousaf Bangash, and Usama Ahmed. We're going to go straight into it. I'm going to share my screen and everybody's going to follow along. And of course, we're focused on the 80 countries with English-based legal systems, of which Pakistan is one of them. And what an interesting fact. Pakistan is number 3 in the world of population of English speakers behind India and America. So let's go ahead. We're going to go straight to it. Um, who is doing the green column?
I am Tom. Hello. Hello to all your viewers as well. I'm Barrister Arooj Bukhari and I will be doing the green column. And if you're ready for me to begin, I'd be happy
Yes,
to.
yes. Walk us through the green column, and anyone else can comment. We're going to first focus on legal immigration clients. What do we need to know about the initial client interview and their immigration history?
Yes, so that is your first point of order. When you have a client, you need to have a client interview with that client so you understand the case and then you take it from there. So your first concern should be to ensure that in your client conference, the setting that you have is confidential. And as lawyers, we are aware of that. Those are one of the requirements that we have to fulfill. Client confidentiality is a very important aspect of our legal practice. So the setting needs to be confidential, especially in immigration cases, for reasons perhaps you wouldn't normally have in usual cases, because the information that they disclose to you could put their life in jeopardy as well. So you need to be mindful of that. You need to get basic data and information from them, but also apart from that, you need to make sure that it is a safe space for them and they feel like it is a safe space for them to disclose information that can place them at risk. So that is one thing that is important.
And
And
Arouge, a lot of times, especially as Americans, we think everybody just wants to come to America, which isn't true, but there's a reason for that perspective. But certainly Pakistan not only have people that want to leave Pakistan, but also want to come into Pakistan. So these points are very important, whether it's for people who are incoming or outgoing, correct?
that is, you're right in that view, certainly. And as immigration lawyers, people are sharing their family information with you as well, the circumstances that they're coming from, and they could be at risk as well, any vulnerabilities that they have, any disabilities that affect their application. So, for all of that, it needs to be stressed that the environment that you provide your client during your first client interview, it needs to be a safe place in that aspect. And apart from getting like the basic personal information, you also need to be aware of any deadlines. So that's a good point to ask them if there's any deadline to the application or any they're facing. Perhaps it could be that they're facing a removal, and then it is important to know if there are any deadlines that we need to be mindful of. So those are some of the considerations, initial considerations we should be able to respond to and gather information in the first meeting. Yeah.
Arouge, I'm curious, as an attorney in fact, you're not an attorney, you're one step above, you're a barrister,
Yes.
in American legal, we consider barristers, lawyers, and attorneys. It all means the same thing. We don't
Yeah.
attach a higher, but for I want to point out for our international audience, the barrister is a higher level in Pakistan legal culture, correct?
Yes. And I studied from England. So this is sort of a relic of the English legal system that we also carry on because of our
Understood.
history. Yes.
So when you look at the people who are immigrating into Pakistan, I'm curious, what are the top 5 countries where they're from which they are immigrating into Pakistan?
Pakistan gets a lot of immigration from people that are close neighbors. So you have people immigrate here from Afghanistan, and we can understand, because Pakistan is a safe country, and they also feel like they've got links here. And Pakistan took a lot of Afghan refugees, and we have. Pakistan has always aimed to make sure that it is legal immigration as opposed to um, illegal or other forms of immigration. So it is regularized, and then we can look after the people who immigrate to a country and give them the rights that they deserve. And so they're in the legal framework. So in Pakistan, you have a lot of people immigrating from Asian nations. So there is that. And Pakistan is a developing country, and we are making strides. So there are people who immigrate here for work. You have people who are coming here for work, and because of the development that's taking place, they're coming engineers, and you have a lot of professionals coming here, and also you have, yes, asylum and refugee seekers from neighboring countries that are at war.
And it was such an interesting trip. You look at the poverty in Pakistan, but then you go to the Centaurus Mall, one of the nicest malls I've ever been to in my life. The diversity of the economic challenges you face and the beautiful architecture that you have and the difference. I just found so fascinating. Do you have a lot of immigration attempted from India still into Pakistan?
Yes, we do. And Pakistan has been quite, and I personally, as someone who has experience in immigration law and an experience in human rights activism as well, so I'm proud of what we have done with respect to allowing Sikh refugees and Sikh pilgrims to come and visit Pakistan for their pilgrimage. So Pakistan has, at our end, we have made the system very seamless and very easy for them to come over here and to perform their pilgrimage. And so Pakistan has made strides in that. However, it is still difficult for Sikh pilgrims to visit, or Sikh tourists to visit, or Indian tourists to visit, because but that is not at our end. So I think there is something that can be done, improved. But as far as we are concerned, Pakistan welcomes foreigners, so it has never been. And with
You
your visit as well, you will have seen.
you cannot blame India for everything. Come on.
No,
Just
I'm
be,
not blaming them at
just
all.
because they beat you in cricket every year. Just because they beat you in cricket every year. Oh, see, Usama, I can tell Usama is a cricket fan. Aren't you, Usama?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
We won't even talk about the American match in New York, will we?
Yes, it can happen. A lot of leagues are going on in New York. Pakistani cricket players are going to New York. In fact, they have the dream to play in New York. So cricket is growing in America as well right now.
So we digress and we're having fun, but moving back to seriousness. So one of the things obviously is client identification verification, Arooj. You have to know who's attempting to immigrate, to come in or to go out.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
and we also need to make sure that the documents are in order, they're not expired. So, for a lot of refugees, for instance, normally for other people, it's not as, I would say, they don't face as much hardship simply because of a refugee, by the virtue of their status. They do not have access because perhaps there are language barriers, there can be a multiple barriers, and they're escaping um, harsh conditions. So that also places them in a place of vulnerability. So for them, I think as a lawyer, if you're dealing with refugees or immigrants who are at risk or asylum seekers, then you need to be mindful of the fact that their documents are in order, they have all that they need. Maybe they escaped their country and they have lost the documents, so you would have to then ensure to get those. You can, follow the right procedures and request replacement documents if it's UNHCR, so you can, go through the proper platform and obtain access to them. But that is one thing that we need to be mindful of before we make any application, a lot of times you will find that certain documents are lacking. Maybe they do not have their birth certificates anymore. So apart from just helping them make that application, this is part of that. This is preliminary, but you will need to get everything in order for that to happen. This is
Of
critical.
course,
Yeah.
sometime when documents are missing, there's a good reason for it, right? Because the circumstances under which they may have left or fled a country, right? There may have been
Yeah.
some urgency or emergency as to the reason why they left. So just because some documents aren't there, you can still explain some of the reasons, because in immigration law, that's part of immigration law, right? Because some
Yeah.
people are wanting to go to another country because they want to, while others because they have to, correct?
Indeed, that's right.
You have,
So yeah.
you have about 2 minutes to finish these last five cells. Could you walk us through them?
Yes, I'll walk you through very concisely, and I think most of your audience is going to be lawyers, so I don't need to get into a lot of depth with this. But another important thing is client identity verification. So you need to verify those documents that they have, that they are valid and they are not expired and they are in the form that they need to be. Sometimes you might need to get translations, which is something that's also easily done, but that's another step in the process. Just so that we're mindful of when we have to meet our deadlines as well, that this can take long. And then there are language and communication needs. Now, you might need a translator depending on how well your client is able to put their case and the circumstances of their case to you. And it would be helpful to discern whether you would need a translator or not. Communication that is uh, as opposed to in person, I suppose if you can get it in paper or on through via email, I think that is better. Because that can also circumvent the language barrier to an extent. If they can speak English, but not very well, perhaps. I'm assuming if the lawyer is English speaking and the jurisdiction that they're practicing in is also requires that language. Then we also need to be mindful of their family and dependents. If they already have family members in our country, if they already have family members in Pakistan, that is something that we would like to know. So we can then make arrangements for them that can, with respect to where they stay, but addresses that we provide, where they can receive mail, and also reunification is one important aspect. Family reunification. Yes, that can be a ground for immigration. So, and that can support their application. So it's important that we know if they have already ties to Pakistan, any existing ties to Pakistan, it'd be essential to know that. And also, we need to understand the condition of the home country with respect to the political, human rights aspects, and economic as well. Any humanitarian concerns that we might have, that
One
we
minute.
can also rely upon.
You got 1 minute left. Cover these three boxes quickly.
All right, got it. And health and vulnerability factors include any disability or any mental health conditions that we need to be mindful of, and we tailor our advice based on that. And if they have had any prior prior criminal charges or convictions, we should be mindful of that too. Because if we can circumvent it in our application, we can explain it, then it's better. And we should not, as lawyers, we know we have our duty as officers of the court. We cannot, honesty is the best policy, and we need to be honest with our clients as well. Our clients, need to be honest with us so that we can help them the best we can. And we need to manage the client's goals and expectations in light of the law and the case that they have. So we should not be promising much. I know, especially in harsh circumstances, if you have a refugee, if you have an asylum seeker client, then you would want to help them out. But if their case is not strong, then we should try and manage it politely and being mindful of any vulnerabilities that they might have. But still, yes, it's our duty to manage it well. Yes.
Perfect. We're continuing with immigration case intake and organization. Now we're going to cover legal immigration witnesses. Who's covering this?
I'm covering this.
Usama Ahmed, are you also an attorney in Islamabad as well, sir?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am working in Islamabad. I've been in litigation for past 7 years, and now I have an immigration firm named Genesis Immigration Solutions. And I've been helping out and working and giving assistance to the clients to move abroad legally, and to help them in immigrant and non-immigrant visas, basically to reach their destination in a smooth and legal way.
So let's go ahead and talk about character witnesses, and you know just go ahead and walk us through this yellow column.
Okay, I'll explain a set of different kind of visas, which will be directly linked with all this yellow column. So if I specifically talk about the US, there are multiple visa categories of United States, because it is a land of immigrants. So there are two types of visas. Some are immigrant visas and some are non-immigrant visas. If you talk about non-immigrant visas, which namely are B1, which is for the businesses conferences, and when you have to go to negotiate the business contract, so you get for the B1 visa. Second visa comes namely as the B2 visa, which is for tourism, family events, and medical. If you want to go to the US for medical treatment. So in character witnesses include, the community which, for example, which assess and gives a perfect character certificate. For example, the police character certificate, or from the teachers you can get recommendation letters which the teachers give you. On the recommendation letter, everything is written over there that the character is good, the moral, this person, he or she has a good moral character.
So
This helps in
Usama, when we talk about employer or sponsor statements, of course,
yes,
in
yes,
this case that you're talking about, you're presenting it to the American consulate, correct?
yes, yes.
And
In this,
do you find that the letters are taken seriously?
yes, very seriously, because employers basically need some employers need the character certificate from the police stations, and they also need certificates from the previous employers. So they assess the character on those certificates, and then on those certificates, when he finds that the person is with a good character, the employer gives the job contract to the client.
Okay, continue with medical experts, please.
Okay, so medical experts are play a key role when filing an application, because medical experts give you a risk that they basically tell you that the client is in the risk of going abroad, or he or she does not have a specific disease
Okay.
that can create problems for the other countries. So that certificate is necessary. The community leaders, for example, the local community leaders, they can give the statements to make the application strong for the visa application, so the visa officers can see that the testimonies are there for the applicant. And then comes school and education witnesses. The school basically, this is directly linked with the visa category known as F1 in the US. F1 is a student visa for the students who want to go to the US to get their higher education. The school also gives recommendation letters, the grades, and tells that this person is good in this subject or not. So visa officers see those letters, and
So on those
then they
letters, are those letters usually in the form of a notarized affidavit? Are they sworn statements? In what format are those statements presented or preserved?
those are written statements. Firstly, they are approved from the principal or head of department. Then they are approved from the Higher Education Commission, and after that, they are approved from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So by the time
And then they are eligible to be submitted.
okay, great. Go ahead and continue with country condition experts and community leaders, please.
Okay. Okay. So the school country condition experts are the people who give the testimony that the relevant individual is living in a good state and has a good lifestyle. He is a genuine person that wants to go to another country and will contribute to the economy of that particular country. That plays an important role. That this person is not someone who's just going to flee this country. Then comes the family support statements. These are the statements which are required in the visa category known as the K category in the United States. So the K category, the family-based immigration visas, in which the testimonies and letters are written to the USCIS. That those letters are basically emotional letters that we are missing our spouse, we cannot live without them, and also the visa categories, speed up. The application is speed up, and the visas are granted on those basis. So what's next?
And then the last two boxes.
The witness statement. Okay, religious and cultural witness. There's also a visa category known as the R category. That category is basically directly an immigrant visa. The person gets a green card on that visa. It is an interesting one. So if someone is a pop, or someone is working for a specific religion on a big scale, he has followers, he or she has followers, a lot of followers, and he's working for that community. And when they write letters and everything to the USCIS that they can grow and help the community of that specific religion in the US or in any country, they'll get an interview. And after, if the visa officer sees that this person can contribute to that specific religion in that country, they also get the visa.
Perfect. Let's now go to the blue column. Who's handling the blue column? Hassan?
I will.
Hassan, how long have you been practicing immigration law? And I believe you're also in Islamabad, correct?
I did my master's from UK and currently on my barrister training course there.
So let's
And
go
I
ahead and
worked in
talk
Pakistan
about.
for a year.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so we're now looking at the blue column, legal immigration documents and evidence. And I assume this is for what you include with your applications, correct?
Yes,
Can you walk us through this blue column, please?
exactly. So for identification and travel documents, the most important we have are passports, national IDs, travel permits, and visas. They make sure that the entry was legal, everything was according to the law, and they help establish that the documents were genuine. So they have to be reviewed, for instance, to make sure that no document is expired. For instance, the passports are very important. If they are expired, then they may create problems for the immigrant. And moving on to immigration forms and application. Now, some countries and some jurisdictions, they have specific forms for these kind of applications. So the legal team has to make sure that if there's a standard application form, they should fill that application form to avoid any further mishaps or any problems for the client, just to be on the safe side. Then we have proof of residency or employment. Now, these documents are very important. Sometimes we may take their importance. We might not take their importance, like utility bills, rental agreements, employment letters, bank statements. They show your proof of identity. For instance, if somebody is living in the United Kingdom and they face something like a removal, so they may show their bank statement to prove that their residency was genuine. So these kind of cases are sometimes very prevalent when the home office sometimes have an issue or a misinformation about the person. So these documents help them in that regard.
I'll tell you
Then
the
we
one
have letter.
I tell you the one thing we had a challenge with our chief technology officer. I wanted to bring him to the United States for 6 weeks to visit, for us to work together, to learn American culture, because my partner and I had never met in 3.5 years until I visited your country. a month ago, right? But he's a 10% owner in the company. He'd been a part of video calls with Microsoft on our advisory board. And yet when went to get his tourist visa, it didn't even last 3 minutes. They just rejected it right away. Now, of course, back then he was single. He wasn't married, which I think probably had to do with how the incoming country perceives the risk of the person coming in,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And so
Yes,
one of the
exactly.
things that I think I learned from that is you need the documents to also address what their concerns are, right? You know,
Exactly.
good actor or bad actor, reasons to return back to the home country, or are they going to try to stay in this country? And I would think that that's so important to present documents that resoundingly address their concerns. That's what I take so far from what you're mentioning, Hassim.
Yeah, exactly. And I would add one thing. So when the students are basically applying, they are required to show a bank statement in that regard. So it furthers your point that when they are showing a bank statement which has some amount of money in it, a good amount of money, it makes sure that the person is not going on a student visa to do work in that country. So it's just a genuine student in that regard who's going to
Interesting.
study and he has those finances. So then we have letters of support from different professionals, or they make
Okay,
sure
okay, okay,
they
but
need.
I got a question. So what
Yeah,
happens
yeah.
with in your culture? My partner lives in a house with 15 family members under his mother and his father. So that house is shown as ownership of his mother and his father, but he's the main income earner. And the utilities in the ownership of the property will show as his elderly father and mother. How do you do that if the utilities are in the eldest parent's name, but you're within that family structure, you don't necessarily have utilities to show? How do you address that?
So to make sure for these concerns, we have this procedure like if somebody is not an owner of a house in which they are living, so maybe they might have some kind of any ancestral or agriculture property from which they belong. For instance, if a person is living in Islamabad, they might have an agriculture property back there in Punjab or Sindh or KPK as well. So these could be showed as a kind of yeah, a backup property for them, if not the house itself.
And of course, they'll likely still have
I think
bank
it addresses
accounts.
your question.
Yeah, and of course they will have bank accounts,
Yeah,
right? If it's a person of income
yes,
substance. Okay, continue,
yes.
please.
So I was talking about the letters of support. So we have to make sure that these letters are typed, signed, and they show a good character of a person. They could be for a student applying from his previous teachers, or for a person on skilled worker visa from his previous employers, just as Osama mentioned earlier. Then we have country reports and news articles. So these are very important in kind of cases when somebody is applying on, for example, political persecution, religious persecution, sexual discrimination, or race-based discrimination. So these kind of reports from news articles, government reports, or NGO reports helps to substantiate your case before the immigration tribunal. So we have to make sure that these reports are up to date. Then we have medical records. So in cases of genuine medical treatment or hardship cases, like Osama mentioned earlier for the treatment visas in the United States. So these kind of records are very, very important. And we have to make sure that these records are from the licensed or sponsored providers. So if the host country tries to check them, they can easily check them from the country from which the immigrant is coming from. Then we have education and training certificates. Anybody applying for student visa knows that how important these education certificates are. Your degrees or your extracurricular certificates, they depict that you are a genuine student who's going on a student visa. Secondly, they also show your foreign qualification. For instance, like IELTS examination for United Kingdom. So this IELTS certificate is a proof of your English proficiency and is very important in your admission. So is the case for any skilled worker visa. If somebody is applying, they have to give their English proficiency. So if you're going in United States or United Kingdom, you must understand the basic English for communication. Then we have audio or video evidence, just as I mentioned in country reports and news articles. So these kind of evidence are very important to substantiate those points. But we have to make sure that these documents have a chain of custody and authenticity attached to them. Just like in normal court procedure, we make sure that any audio or video is not doctored or concocted. So is the case here to make it more reliable. And then we have timeline and trace chronology. It's very important and it is very helpful. And in this age of AI and technology, it is very easy to make a chronological timeline of these cases. When did the person leave their country? When did they arrive in their host country? When did they apply for the application? All these information could be chronologically documented to make the work easy, not just for the tribunal, but for yourself as well.
You know what that really drives home for me is I don't think we took very serious 2 years ago how we prepared for the application, right? I don't
Yeah.
think that we probably didn't include 80% of what you're pointing out as relevant and impactful. That is so helpful. Yousaf Bangash, you're next, sir. I think you're taking us home on our last column. And the last column is legal immigration hearings. So let's talk about the hearings. What types of immigration hearings are there, and are they regarding?
Okay.
Let us know if you're talking about incoming or outgoing hearings, right? If it's for people
Okay.
coming into your host, the target country, or going out of the source country.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. And I know I'm in the company of people who are, deeply about justice and human dignity. So I hope to contribute something meaningful to this discussion. Let's start with the terrain here. Immigration hearings comes in many flavors, and knowing which battlefield you are entering into is half the victory. For instance, we have this asylum interviews. So that asylum interviews are often one-on-one, and it's almost conversational, but they are legally binding. So in asylum interviews, we look for the credibility, right? Credibility is everything. Even if there is a slight contradiction in a date or detail, it can tip the scale. So every timeline, every name, that must be lined up. And the officer is just not listening to you. He is basically auditing the truth, right? So you have to be very cautious whenever you are in asylum interviews, or there is removal proceedings, or even there is appeal or review. So same goes for the removal proceedings even. I mean, it's always the government versus the individual, right? So the burden of proof always shift in the removal proceedings sometimes. So I will start one by one with how and what type of immigration hearings we have. Then the relevance of the hearing notification and scheduling as well. So let's start with the hearing notification and scheduling first. So this is something I called it the alarm bell. So do not miss the bus here. When it comes to legal proceedings, if you did not show up, it means you did not care, because law only favors the vigilant, right? Not the indolent. And this is one of the, I would say, the harsh reality, that you have to be very, very cautious when it comes to hearing notification and notices, even scheduling, right? So
And
what we need to
you
do
have to be and you have to be on time.
yes,
What
time is very important.
what do we say as lawyers? If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time, right?
Yeah,
No,
exactly,
no,
exactly,
no judge cares if you're 15 minutes early, but they sure care if you're 15
exactly,
seconds late, right?
exactly. Time is very important. Time is very important. So what I'm trying to suggest here, that triple check the notices, be it calls, email. Even if you are attorney, it is your responsibility to intimate or remind the clients that you have interview, or you have appearance before the court on this and that date, right? Then coming towards the another step, so it is divided into pre-hearing, hearing, and then post-hearing, right? So the pre-hearing prep, uh, this is the time, I mean, this is the phase or stage where champions are made. right? You just don't walk into the court and wing it. It's not, a theater. It's like a legal battlefield. So you have to be aware. So what we need to do at this stage, it should be a 3 to 4 step procedure. First, review up the facts, then line up the witnesses. And once you done with that, then build the chronology or timelines, right? So if the client is nervous, then we recommend to conduct mock hearings for that. So the pre-hearing preparation will decide the hearing stage, right? The most important, I believe, which has a domino effect or the whole proceeding, and that is, I believe, the interpreter in the language access. So words, it's like weapons. So if words are weapons and you just use the wrong one, and you have lost a point where you never knew you needed. So you have to be very cautious when selecting the interpreter and language accesses. This is what I believe, that at this phase, at this stage, we need professionals interpreter, because professional interpreters are not negotiable. So we sometimes call our friend or even uncles or that one guy from the mosque who knows both language well. So this is something very very serious and very very dangerous, and it has repercussion. So for that we need interpreters and language access. Now, I'll come with the very most important point, that
Okay.
this includes presenting the oral testimony, and I will show you the depiction of that, what it basically includes. You know, the soul of every legal hearing is the oral testimony. So it must be delivered like truth, standing on trial. So what we need to understand at this point, that think oral testimony as like crossing a legal minefield. You need honesty as your armor. And a tiny lie, even an innocent one, can blow up your whole case faster than you can say,
I
right?
love what I
So
love what you just said, that the soul of a hearing is the oral testimony. What a
exactly.
great phrase. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. So what I'm trying to suggest here, that if you do not remember something, just say that with respectfully, that I didn't think it matter, or I don't know about it, right? Do not make your own creative fictions. So once you done with this oral testimony, then here comes the hack. Answer the question, not the entire biography. We It's not about the immigration cases, even in family related cases, even in civil procedure, civil cases, even in criminal cases. If they ask you, what time the flight left, so don't explain now just how you got there and what you ate over there and who was with you and what you saw over there. Just
No,
be
we
very, very precise. Do not narrate the entire biography, what you have
yeah,
done in the
in
airport.
in America we say, if somebody asks you for the time, don't tell them how to build a watch.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. We have
Okay.
about one we have about 1 minute left. Can you go ahead and
Okay. I have so many things
last three?
to discuss. Let's start with the presenting written submission.
Okay.
Your paperwork is like your sport. I will show you a very great example of it. If you can see it. Now, this includes taggings, right? So your paperwork is like your sword. And a blunt swan won't cut through bureaucracy, right? So every document, be it medical reports, affidavits, school record, it should be clean, it should be indexed, it should be flagged, it should be labeled. Remember, judges are human, so do not make them search for gold in a hashtag, right? So make work easy for the judges. Then I will another. This is another point which duly need our consideration: the judicial and administrative conduct. Sometimes face clients or people who are unaware of court demeanor and how to present yourself or appear before the court. So, respect here is not an option. It's like a strategy. So you have to be very very cautious, very respectful. You should dress cleanly. You do not interrupt, and anyone do not roll your eyes. This is what I do. So optics matter when it comes to legal proceedings. Then here comes the stage of post-hearing follow-up. So the case does not end when you walk out of the court, right? Did the judge ask for more documents? We submit them. If he asks for, any deadline. So if you are aggrieved of any of the order or any of the judgment of the court, so you have a right to appeal. You have right to further remedies, right? So to conclude this, since I am very short of the time, and I will speedily conclude it right now. So to conclude it, I believe that immigration hearings demand three things precisely:
Okay.
clarity, your preparation, and your precision, right? And then timely filings,
Oh, wait, clarity.
well-organized document,
You cut out clarity, preparation, and what else?
and precision. You have to be
Precision.
precise. Yes.
I
And
love that.
then timely filings, well-organized documents, and the most important one, that is coach testimony,
Speaking
which
of
can get
timely filings, we're out of time. So thank you,
okay. Okay.
It's an
Thank
imperfect process when you do a roundtable, right? So I thank everybody, and this concludes our presentation on immigration intake and case organization. Thank you.